The Chicago Bears just signed a big tight end three for Shane Waldron's offense. So the Bears, as you know, they have a pretty nice tight end room. But as we keep track of all these undrafted free agent signings that are coming through, 6'5", 255-pound tight end Brendan Bates. He's joined this team as an undrafted free agent. And he's just a super interesting name to watch as we move forward. This guy will most likely be our third tight end on this roster. And in the Shane Waldron offense, that can be a significant role. So Bates, he finishes his University of Kentucky career with 26 catches for 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not impressive, right? But he had a major impact on the run game. Specifically, he helped bolster that with his blocking ability. This guy also played meaningful snaps at fullback as well. He has some pretty nice versatility. And if you look at the landscape across the NFL, right, teams are always looking for guys that can make the catches, sure, but also guys who aren't afraid to lay down the hit stick in the blocking game. And Bates, he fits this mold perfectly. He primarily served as a blocking tight end, but when he did catch the ball, here's this. He averaged 10.5 yards per catch. Is it possible he can catch the ball but was underutilized? Regardless of that, he's got a real chance to unseat number 3 tight end Stephen Carlson, and make this roster. The number 3 tight end, it's actually important in the Shane Waldron offense as he likes to shift into 13 personnel quite frequently. And he has a big leg up on Carlson as well. The rookie undrafted free agent, he has youth, pretty nice speed, a much cheaper contract, and most of all, this guy, he just blocks his tail off. And his value at Kentucky was not catching the ball. He was a trusted blocker. This is what the Bears need here. And I'm just going to go to his profile here on his college website. You guys, if you get a chance, just check him out. It kind of gives a chronological order of his career all the way back to high school. It's nice to get to know these guys. So his value while at Kentucky, it wasn't catching the ball. He was a trusted blocker. And the reason he was undrafted, that's likely the fact that his receiving production extremely limited, right, at Kentucky. But the Bears, they're not looking for a receiving tight end. They're not looking for that in their third tight end. With that being said, reports are that he actually can be a receiving threat, but was underutilized during his college career. And a lot to do with that, I think it might be due to injury. So he looked likely to jump to the NFL last year until he underwent shoulder surgery in December. Bates, it turns out, he played through most of the 2022 season, in fact, pretty much all of it, with a labrum injury. He played through it, but he wasn't sidelined until his last 2 games. Then he got that surgery. Bates, who's once again, he's a big guy, 6'5", 255 pounds. He did not get an invite this year to the NFL Combine, but he had a huge pro day. That got a lot of scouts' attention. He did extremely well that day. And I'm going to close this down. This is super impressive. It never fails to impress me how the guys of this size can run, the type of athletes they are. For a man of his size, he ran a 4.66 40 time. Now, if he'd been at the Combine, that number would have been 4th fastest, so that's pretty good. His 3-cone drill, that would have been 4th best as well. And he also posted a really nice 10-foot 2-inch broad jump. So what I'm saying with these numbers, when I'm saying with these scores, if he'd been at the Combine, he would have been right in the thick of it in comparison to the other athletes attending at his position. It's obvious that he belongs with them. He belongs in the NFL. Following his impressive pro day, he received interest from multiple teams before agreeing to join us here at Hallis Hall. We just received a significant shot in the arm, as you guys know, with our 2 top 10 picks in this year's draft. This is just going to be so much fun. And there's kind of a quote here from former NFL tight end Jacob Tamme. He has a piece of advice that he shares with every college athlete he speaks with or guys that he helps train. And I just thought this was a really good quote. He says, every player has a chance. It just might not be where you thought. And this speaks into the fact that signing as an undrafted free agent, It might actually give players an actually better opportunity to thrive rather than landing like with a team in the later rounds of the NFL draft, being like a 7th round draft pick. And it worked well for a Kentucky player, Josh Ali, 2 years ago. He was a pass catcher and he suffered an injury in a car wreck that sidelined him through the pre-draft process. He signed as an undrafted free agent with the Atlanta Falcons. Then he worked his way up from the practice squad to an active roster spot. And that's just like a really good example of how a player can face adversity. In this case, Bates, it was with injuries, not get an invite to the combine, but still this path to the pros as an undrafted free agent, it happens way more than we choose to admit, that we choose to talk about. With that being said, he was there since 2018. He's not short on experience. That's a really long time, but injuries, once again, they were a big issue. He was only active for 58 games and he started in 28 of them. Tangible stats, lacking 26 catches, 272 yards to his name. I just want to continue being honest about that. I want to give an honest assessment of these undrafted free agents, but it looks likely in this case, he's going to make this team. So I think it's important to dig into him. He's going to be one of maybe at least 3 guys that make this team through the undrafted free agent route. And I think it's pretty cool. So Carlson, he's going to be really easy to unseat. He's 27 years old. He's hardly played in the league. His career got derailed a few years ago, and he spent all of last year on the practice squad. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, they're there to catch passes. Run blocking, bring on Bates. This is a specialty. And to be fair, the main thing I'll be watching for in camp and possibly the preseason, it's if the Bears develop his pass catching ability, or if it's actually just hidden due to his college career. I want to avoid as an offense telegraphing to the run to opposing defenses when Bates comes into the game. I mean, if you remember, that was a big issue with Mercedes Lewis last year. And man, it'd just be nice to see more from our number 3. Perhaps Bates can supply that. And the fear for us, those of us with Bears PTSD, Adam Shaheen 2.0, right? But the beauty of Bates, the investment is almost zero. And to hear about it from a scout at his pro day, this is what a scout had to say. Brendan Bates is legit. Grossly underused at Kentucky, along with every other tight end we've ever had here. But he's an A-plus blocker in the run game. He has solid hands. He runs good routes. He's a great fit. Solid hands and good routes. I'll take that with a grain of salt, but that's encouraging, right? And once again, offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, he used 13 personnel packages a ton in Seattle. And besides, you need a third in case something happens to Cole Kmet or Gerald Everett. So the other alternatives at the spot. Signing someone else here, it wouldn't be a problem, right? But it would cost money. There's always backup tight ends on the free agent merry-go-round, right? We've got like former 49ers tight end Ross Dwelly. He's out there. Robert Tonyan, he's available. No thanks. But my point being, finding a third isn't a big issue. Waldron might actually use less 3 tight end stuff with the spectacular wide receiver group that we've assembled. And with good targets at the top 2 tight end spots, I mean, that's possible as well. I'll close, though, with just a review of the tight end room just for the sake of being thorough, so bear with me here. We've got Cole Kmet. He remains the tight end 1 this year. He's coming off a career year, both catches and yards. He also has 13 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons, so he's coming on. The added depth will hurt his overall target share, but he has consistently progressed. He'll see a lot less bracketed attention. His per catch metric, that might be increasing even more this year. And let's move on to number 2. You guys know we have Gerald Everett here. So behind the Bears having arguably the best wide receiver core in franchise history, I think it's number 1 in the NFL. I'm going to do a story tomorrow. I think we're a little disrespected there. But if you look at the league, it's really hard to find a better 1-2 combination tight end than this duo. Everett, he's posted 400 yards in a season every single year since 2019, and he'd even be viewed as a low-end starter on many teams, I believe. So having him as quality number 2, that's a huge advantage. And that brings us to Steven Carlson, our present number 3. I think we might want to do something about this, and this is why I wanted to do this story. He's only a journeyman. He spent the last year on the practice squad, and if he makes this team over Bates, maybe that's showing that this year it's an indication of how little the third tight end will play. That Shane Waldron is going to run even less 13 personnel than he usually does. I mean, I think that's an interesting angle. So that brings us last to Brendan Bates. He obviously has a real chance to unseat Carlson here. He's gonna make this roster, in my opinion. And the rookie undrafted free agent, he has youth, a better contract on his side. He's also an A+ blocker, I believe. He has limited receiving production. I think that's why he fell in the draft. But the team does not need him. They do not need him to be a huge receiving threat as our number 3 tight end. And I just wanted to go through that depth chart for you. You guys let me know what you think about Bates. If you have any more information, sometimes it's difficult to dig up a really good profile with some of these guys because some of them are a little more obscure, but I just want to provide to you guys the best service possible. So bear down, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. Training camp cannot get here soon enough. And yeah, we'll muddle through together. See you later and bear down.